Good evening, viewers. It is 2 a.m. on campus. Lecture notes are widely open. Deadlines are closing in. But somewhere nearby, a can promises focus, power, and one more hour. What is really in this can? Is it a fuel to success or a silent strain on the student's mind? In today's topic, we are going to be tackling a nutritional controversy in the campus favorites, caffeine, energy drinks, and university students. I am Professor Iris, and I'm here with my co-host.
Shamima Sakar. We have in our studio with us our speaker who are going to share with us their knowledge on caffeine and energy drinks, and they're in the persons of
Vivienne Aplavefi, Samira Mori.
We are also joined by a student who is going to share her experience with us from a student's perspective, and she's in the person of
Sambra Simonoa.
Finally, we are joined by our guests here who have expertise on these topics, and they will help us to understand them better. They're in the person of
I'm Enoch Mensah.
Ethel Nunya Ditri.
To start with, Vivian, what is caffeine?
Okay, so I will put more light on what caffeine is, the uses, the source of caffeine, and then energy drinks, the components of energy drinks, and what who is it for. So to begin with, caffeine are natural stimulants, and then they are sourced from coffee, cocoa beans, and then tea leaves. So, for the uses of caffeine, people use it for alertness and also for consciousness and then focus. For the energy drinks, they have extracted caffeine and then added components like sugar and then vitamins. And they are also taken for alertness and then sharpness and then focus. That's what I know about it.
Wow, that was very informative. Samira, can you help us understand how different energy drinks are from Kabu?
So, energy drinks usually do the same job as the coffee, but energy drinks tend to be more harmful than the caffeine because these energy drinks contain sugars and also they also contain the caffeine. But then because of the sugar, it puts us at high risk of getting diabetes. So energy drinks are non-alcoholic beverages which contains caffeine to help us stay alert and boost our physical performances. And also they contain supplements and also stimulants like the taurine, guarana, and also B vitamins.
Before we ask our guest to elaborate more, who will ask our students to tell us what she uses these caffeinated drinks or energy drinks for.
Okay, so as for me, I use the energy drinks instead of the coffee. And the reason why I use it is to help me stay focused and when I want to study for a longer period of time. Yeah, that's what I use. And for some of my friends, what I have get so far for them, they also use the same for the same purpose. But some also use the energy drink to mix alcohol for them to consume alcohol for a longer period of time. I think I don't have any knowledge about that though, but that's what I have cared for. Yeah, so far.
So, Didier, I would like you to tell us what are the signs associated with the use of these caffeinated drinks and energy drink.
Okay, so in the science, I will say when you are taking the caffeinated drinks, you might think, okay, I've gotten boosted and then I can do a lot of things. I'm so happy, I'm energetic, and nothing seems to stop me. But when a set thing that you're about to maybe withdraw, or you're not having these drinks for maybe 2 to 3 days, signs like headache, shakiness, nausea, vomiting, and then a lot of things happening. So it is not advisable to be taking them in much quantity to avoid these symptoms. Though they are good for energy boosting, it can also give you a backside that is not very good. So to help us unpack the myth and to understand the scientific part of the energy drinks and the caffeine, We are joined by voices you can trust, our guests, our experts. And today they are going to delve deeper and guide us through the actual life threatening and maybe healthy impacts, if you may say, of energy drinks and caffeine. Mr. Enoch, please take us through.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the mechanism of action of caffeine, as you have been saying. And so some will say, when you take in the caffeine, what does it do to the body? So we always say something that when you take in caffeine, okay, there are something that you call adenosine in the body, okay. So the adenosine, simply put, they are just chemicals that help us to sleep, okay. So when we take in those caffeine acts as an inhibitor. And as you know, as we all know, adenosine has what you call adenosine receptors. So when it's what makes us feel get a sensation of sleep. So in the during our wakeful hours, when we are awake, this adenosine, okay, build up in our brain. So, and probably before I go to that, the adenosine is everywhere in our body. They are probably, you will say they are like, as you know, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, that's energy aspect. So they are just contributors to ATP. So this adenosine that we are talking about, when in our wakeful hour moments, they build up in our brain. So when they get a certain state, they tell us that, oh, where we are getting to, we are tired. You have to what? You have to rest. That means it's giving us a sensation that you should sleep. So before we can sleep, it has to bind with what we call adenosine receptors. So when taking caffeine, what caffeine does is, where it has to bind with, it goes there to bind with the adenosine receptors. So which means that once that receptor has been binded, the adenosine is what is still in the body, still building up. So it will build up to the same point that you feel like still you won't feel sleepy, because what will induce you to sleep is what has been blocked. So you feel sleep, you not feel sleepy, and you will just be awake, and you will just feel like, no, I still have the energy to do what, to do whatever I want to be. So that's actually the mechanism of action. Thank you.
Knowing my podcast and knowing the people that listen to me, I know I have art students and students from the humanities and all that. And I know we don't understand this adenosine and all that. So we would like to invite our guest, Miss Edel, to break it down into the layman's perspective for us. Miss Edel, please take us through. Thank you. Basically, what he's saying is that adenosines are sleep chemicals. They are natural chemicals produced by the body to help you sleep. And then adenosine receptors are, let's say, for lack of better words, to bring it down to the layman terms, they are like vehicles that transport the adenosines. Now, what caffeine does is that it is going to sit in the vehicle that is supposed to transport the adenosine. So now there's no space for the adenosine to sit in. So now the caffeine has sat in the vehicle and then it is transporting it. So it has blocked the sleeping chemical that is supposed to make you fall asleep. That's why it gives you the feeling of alertness, because it has blocked the chemical that's supposed to help you sleep. Another thing I would like to add up to is that caffeine increases lipolysis. Lipolysis is burning of fats to produce energy. That's why you feel abundant of energy, because the stored fats are being broken down to produce energy. Okay, thank you very much. So, I told my viewers that we are going to have guests speak to us on this topic, and I told them to bring in questions prior to the podcast session. And I got some interesting questions that I would like to ask for you to maybe debunk those myth. If it's a myth, sure. If it's a fact, you are prove it to us. One of my my listeners asked that they said they've heard that you can use coffee to abort a child. It is not nutritionally directed, but since you are expert, I would like to ask if you can maybe answer my listener. The myth is not to, I've heard it before, it's not to abort babies, but it's used as a post contraceptive. Okay. And as I said earlier, it is a myth, a very dangerous myth. The claim is that highly concentrated caffeine flashes out sperm. It kills the sperm and then it flashes it out. which is wrong. It has not been scientifically proved. There's no scientific evidence of it. The reason why it is wrong is when you think of it, caffeine is taken orally through the esophagus to the stomach, that there's digestion, absorption, and then it's excreted. It doesn't get anywhere to the reproductive system for it to kill the sperm and then flush it out. And then sperm from a healthy young man takes up to 5 to 20 minutes to get to the fallopian tube. And I don't think you are going to be quick enough to mix highly concentrated coffee to flush the sperm out before it gets to the fallopian tube. So that's a dangerous thing, because if you do it, you're actually, if you're ovulating, you're going to get pregnant. And since you said it's not nutritionally, I'd like to delve into the nutrition side, because when I was invited to the show, that was what I was told. So I would like to talk about the nutritional implication of abuse of caffeine on the body. Nutritionally, what caffeine does to the body is that it inhibits the absorption of non-Hem iron. That is iron that we get from plant sources. It also interferes with the absorption of calcium and then other micronutrients. What it does is that another thing caffeine does is it increases the production of urine, what we like to call the mild diuretic effect. And because production of urine has been increased, it means reabsorption that's supposed to occur doesn't. So all the micronutrients like the calcium, the iron that is supposed to be reabsorbed from the urine doesn't happen. So it is excreted out. And then if it happens continuously, calcium is being excreted out. It puts you at a higher risk of getting osteoporosis. That is lack of bone density. And it also puts you at a higher risk of getting anemia because the iron is being flushed out. Thank you.
Okay, so talking about the myths, do we have any nutritional myths regarding to the use of caffeine and energy drinks?
Another nutritional myth is that caffeine helps with weight loss. And it doesn't. It doesn't because abuse of caffeine also interferes with it interferes with eating. It decreases your appetite. It decreases so you're not going to be taking in enough as your body needs. And then another thing caffeine does is it increases your BMR. That's the basic metabolic rate. And then the basic metabolic rate is the highest way that the body expends energy. So now that your appetite has been suppressed, you're not taking enough, you're not fueling your body enough, but BMR has been increased. So you're expending more energy, but you're not taking in enough energy. And that puts your body at a negative energy balance. So it doesn't help with weight loss.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Enoch, about the nutritional aspects of the caffeine usage, what about the absorption of nutrients? Does it interfere in any way?
Yeah, so as she said, with the nutrients absorption, so probably she talked about something called the non-Hem iron, which we get from plants. And one of the basics is that when we take in the coffee and tea, okay, there's caffeine in it. And when we take coffee and tea alongside your meats, sometimes it takes one spoon of food, it saves a tea or alcohol, a coffee. When you do that, there's the non-Hem is not able to be absorbed in the body. The reason is that you have something in the coffee that you call polyphenols. So that one they inhibit the adenosine in the coffee, or they inhibit the iron receptors in the food that we are eating. And also when it comes to, we said caffeine has a diuretic effect, which means it increases urine. So probably when there's more urine production, there's something called dehydration. It can be dehydrated when you don't replace it with fluid. And also we have what you call water-soluble vitamins. So when there's excretion of this urine, when there's excretion of water from the body, it can also excrete the water soluble vitamins throughout. That's the vitamin B, vitamins, and also vitamin C. So they can be excreted, and also sodium as well, because sodium and calcium as well, because in the kidney, the adenosine helps in the reabsorption of the water, sodium, calcium in the kidney. So when these receptors are being blocked, which means there will not be reabsorption. When they do reabsorption, it will be excreted towards the urine, which comes out.
Okay, thank you. And regarding the experience my students did, she said something about coffee being energy drink being added to alcohol to reduce tipsiness. That's what you asked, right? Yes. Please, can you elaborate on that for us?
It doesn't reduce tipsiness, but since adenosine has been blocked, you are not going to feel that you are drunk, but you're actually drunk. So you are going to get more drunk. It encourages binge drinking because you're not feeling it. You think you're not drunk, so you keep on drinking. And then when the levels of caffeine decreases in the body, because it will, with between 6 to 8 hours, caffeine is supposed to, the levels are supposed to decrease from your body. So when it decreases, you are going to feel the alcohol in full force because it was suppressed earlier, but now it isn't anymore. So it doesn't make you less tipsy. You just don't feel it.
Okay. Thank you very much, my Avo and Amal guests. Thank you, my speakers. Thank you, my students. Thank you, my listeners. And as lectures come to an end and as cans are empty, let there be one question in your mind. Are we using caffeine wisely, or we are letting caffeine use us? Thank you for tuning in to the full and packed podcast. I have been your host, Priscilla Iris Amo, and my co-host,
Shamima Sakar.
see you next time.